living the claustrophobic, suffocating concrete jungle of the city, behind our car sped smoothly along the dark, desolate national highway. Outside the glass, the endless night scenery on both sides of the road resembled a colossal macabre oil painting of distorted shadows, slowly slipping past the car windows into the abyss of the pitch-black night. Inside the cramped, dimly lit cabin, the only sound slicing through the heavy, tense atmosphere was the constant petty bickering between Kha Luo and two men. Exhausted from the grueling journey, Thi had already retreated to the back seat, curling up to lie down beside Tan Cam. Hackbao, the mysterious black cat, crouched quietly like a silent, watchful shadow, laying gently right above Tan Cam's head, its glassy eyes reflecting the passing road lights. As the suffocating shroud of night completely fell, the entire world outside was swallowed by a thick, pitch-black darkness. Inside, a heavy fog of exhaustion settled over everyone, leaving them weary and desperately sleepy. Two men handed the steering wheel over to Kha Luo, his eyes growing heavy with fatigue before drifting off into a fitful, uneasy slumber. Kha Luo kept his eyes glued to the dark road while listening to the crackling static of the car radio. Driving long distance is alone in the dead of night is an absolute night. Mere the hardest part is when pitch darkness surrounds you, and without someone to talk to, the hypnotic hum of the road can easily make you lose focus and run off the road. Poor Kha Luo, everyone in the car was completely drained, fast asleep, and snoring softly, leaving him utterly alone with no one to keep him company in the creeping silence. Out of nowhere, a pale hand reached up from the darkness of the back seat and gently, warmly touched his lips. "Do you want some? Are you hungry?" A soft, comforting voice whispered it was Tan Cam. She gently fed a small piece of sweet chocolate to Kha Luo, who kept his gaze fixed on the road, quietly eating what she offered. As he finished, his lips brushed against Tan Cam's warm fingertips. That brief fleeting second felt like a sudden jolt of electricity surging through them. Both of their hearts began to race violently in their chests, filled with a sudden nervous tension. But suddenly, a cold, heavy sigh echoed through the quiet cabin. Both of them instantly froze, turning their eyes toward the source of the sound, only to gasp in terror as they saw a dark, humanoid figure hovering just outside the glass of the speeding car's window. At first their hearts nearly leaped out of their chests in pure terror, but as they focused their eyes through the gloom, they realized it was none other than the ghost of Father Kadao. Kha Luo let out a frustrated, shaky breath and hissed angrily, why do you always have to make such a spine-chilling, creepy entrance? You're going to give me a heart attack. This is not funny at all." Tan Cam's face flushed, deep crimson, as she quickly pulled her hand back, her heart pounding with embarrassment, acting as though she had just been caught red-handed doing something shameful. In the blink of an eye, the ghostly old man phased effortlessly through the solid metal door and slipped into the back of the car. The sudden freezing drop in temperature woke everyone up instantly, their eyes wide with startle as they stared at this spectral, uninvited guest. The old ghost looked at Tan Cam and said in a strangely soft, gentle tone, "My dear junior sister, are you still keeping well?" Tan Cam lowered her head shyly, remaining silent in her embarrassment, but Kha Luo quickly cut in to interrupt. "Grandpa, we all know your legendary epic love story by heart now, but Tan Cam is absolutely not your long-lost junior sister. You are being so annoying. Tan Cam is literally the same age as me." The old spirit reached out and gave Kha Luo's head a light, playful flick before continuing, "You really have no manners at all, boy. No matter what, I am still your Father, fine, fine. I will graciously give you my blessing to love her, but surely you must grant your old grand Father the simple right to admire a beautiful lady, shouldn't you? Hearing this bizarre exchange, Thi and two men remained dead silent, not uttering a single word. They simply exchanged awkward, highly uncomfortable glances in the dark. The old ghost turned his hollow, glowing eyes toward Thi and asked, "Do you still remember the exact path leading to that secluded tiny hamlet?" "I still remember how to get there," Thi replied, trying to sound brave. "It hasn't been that long since my last visit. There is no way I could forget the path so quickly." "That is good," the ghost whispered, his voice echoing eerily. "Since you are all determined to embark on this journey, you absolutely must find the exact family that sold you that cursed piece of cloth. You must do everything in your power to pry the terrifying truth out of them," Thi answered with forced confidence. "There won't be any problem, Grand, Pa. This road is quite short, and once we return this sinister cloth to them, everything will finally be over." The old ghost furrowed his brow deeply in that chilling moment of worry. His expression looked terrifyingly identical to Luo's. "The reality of this matter is likely far more malevolent and complex than you think," he warned, his voice turning ice cold. "I fear that the dreadful Kabang curse cannot be broken so easily. If it were, people would not have branded it as a supreme, blood-thirsty curse. But unfortunately, I cannot assist you. Once you enter that territory, that place is bound by the ancient dark shamanic magic of the Mio ethnic group. A Taoist practitioner like me has very little understanding of their secretive sorcery. The Mio people harbor a deep, violent hatred for anyone who encroaches upon their ancestral lands, as they have lived in isolation on those sacred soils for generations. Their dark magic is never whispered to outsiders, leaving me completely powerless to dismantle it. Your absolute best chance of survival is to find a way to gain the protection and help of a local shaman dwelling within those mountains." Kha Luo spoke up quickly, trying to lighten the heavy, ominous mood. "Come on, Grand, Pa. In this day and age, surely a little bit of money can solve everything." Before he could finish, a sharp pain shot through his skull as his ghostly Grand Father struck him hard on the head. "What utter nonsense! Do you truly believe that money can buy your way out of anything? You are dead wrong. The sacred duty of the Mio shamans is solely to protect their own kin. They will never, under any circumstance, aid an outsider for mere currency or materialistic gifts. By venturing into their domain this time, you will undoubtedly offend and anger many powerful shamans, for they will perceive your intrusion as an act of hostility against their territory. You must remain absolutely humble, polite, and non-threatening. Keep in your minds that your sole singular objective is to break the horrific and vengeful Kabang curse. Do not get involved in any minor conflicts or strange occurrences along the way. It is far better to keep your heads down." Tan Cam nodded slowly, her face pale as she absorbed his grim warning. The old spirit's form began to flicker, his voice growing fainter as he continued. "My spiritual energy is draining rapidly, and the opportunities for me to manifest physically are growing dangerously slim. However, I will do everything in my power to block the wicked power of the Kabang curse, keeping it from summoning the local malevolent spirits to tear you apart. But I must warn you, one final crucial time, under no circumstance, is must you ever separate. The sheer dark strength of the Kabang curse has grown monumentally powerful. The demonic child, the terrifying old crone, and even the reanimate corpse of your deceased friend, are all being puppet and controlled by its malicious will. The moment those chilling words left his mouth, his spectral form dissolved in't, thin air leaving behind a freezing gust of wind. Everyone gasped in absolute terror, shivers running down their spines. Kha Luo gripped the steering wheel tightly and muttered under his breath, "Thank goodness he can only manifest for 3 minutes a day, otherwise we'd be in serious, endless trouble." Hearing this, look too, men found another perfect excuse to mock and provoke Kha Luo. You've got that right. Otherwise he'd just be enabling his playboy son to shamelessly flirt with girls all day. Exactly are you calling a shameless playboy? Kha Luo snapped back, his face turning red. Whoever fits the description knows exactly who they are. 2 men smirked coldly. Aha. So it turns out you are just utterly jealous because this young master right here is far more handsome than you. Is that it, you handsome? 2 men laughed mockingly. Take a good look in the mirror, buddy. You look so incredibly weak and fragile that if you tried to cross a bridge on a windy day, a gentle breeze would probably blow you away in't oblivion. Tankam shook her head in sheer exasperation, sighing deeply. With every passing day she realized more and more that Kha Luo was 2 men's ultimate nemesis. Whenever Kha Luo was around without fail, 2 men would completely lose all of his mature reasoning, and the 2 would immediately start bickering back and forth like petty immature children. Suddenly a sharp piercing shriek from Thi shattered the atmosphere. Stop, that's the place, that is absolutely the place. The tires screeched violently as Kha Luo slammed on the brakes. Thi eagerly pointed her trembling finger toward a dim, flickering light burning in the distance and cried out, "That is definitely the spot." I vividly remember that when I passed through here there was a newly constructed school right by the road. I recognized that eerie school gate anywhere the last time I came here. It was broad daylight. I even distributed lots of gifts and treats to the local children there, before walking down the steep mountain path to find that small hidden hamlet. Kha Luo shifted his gaze from Thi, this anxious face, to the narrow, up-paved mountain trail stretching in't, the blackness ahead. "All right," Kha Luo muttered. "Let's first head up to the school to seek shelter and rest for the night. Tomorrow morning, when the sun is up, we can make our way around the back of the mountain to find that hidden hamlet. What do you all think?" Everyone murmured in agreement. Navigating these treacherous, winding mountain roads in the dead of night was an incredibly perilous task. Fortunately, this high-performance vehicle was equipped with advanced off-road features, which, combined with Kha Luo's superb, skillful driving, allowed them to finally navigate the steep terrain and safely reach the dark school premises. Under the pale, ghostly glow of the moonlight, the towering mountain loomed over them, silent and deeply ominous. It was mid-summer, and the deep wilderness possessed a haunting primordial beauty, filled with the incessant echoing croaks of frogs vibrating through the damp night air. As they pulled up to the rusted entrance of the school, they saw nothing but a single ancient kerosene lantern hanging from the gate, casting long dancing shadows across the decayed wood. Kha Luo stepped out, raising his hand to knock heavily on the creaking gate to see if anyone was inside, but Thi suddenly grabbed his arm, pulling him back in a panic as she whispered, "Don't everyone inside the school is already fast asleep in the deep, suffocating darkness. In the back of my car, I have sleeping bags and a large tent. Let's just pitch the tent out here to sleep, so we don't disturb them any more." Look Two Min slowly nodded his head in agreement, his eyes scanning the pitch black shadows surrounding them. That's a good idea. Let's stop the car right here. We can set up our tent on this patch of grass right next to the school. Look Two Min and Thi were indeed seasoned travelers who had braved many desolate places. They coordinate it with each other in perfect silent harmony, and before long the dark silhouette of their tent was fully erected against the night. The four of them lay huddled close together inside the spacious tent, staring up at the cold distant stars through the mesh window, though not a single soul dared to voice it. They all shared a creeping unspoken dread that at this very moment they absolutely could not afford to separate from one another. It had been an agonizingly long time since they had felt even a momentary sense of relief like this. Perhaps it was because they were finally on the verge of locating that mysterious hidden village that a strange nervous excitement began to pulse through their veins. Because she had ventured to this desolate place once before, Thi was intimately familiar with both the local people and the eerie, unsettling landscape of this region. Kha Luo broke the heavy silence, whispering, "Where on earth are we?" "I honestly don't even know myself," Thi whispered back, her voice shivering slightly. "I always travel completely on a whim, so I rarely ever remember the names of the place I visit. If a place feels interesting, I just stay and wander around for a few days. That's all Tan Cam, driven by an uneasy curiosity, pressed further. But what could possibly be interesting about this place? I was just observing that village under the pale, eerie glow of the moonlight, and I didn't see anything special about it at all. It looked dead. The only reason I chose to stay here for a few days back then was because the local children were so incredibly sweet and innocent," Thi murmured, a faint, melancholic smile flickering on her face. "They didn't even have a proper school back then. Instead, they had to gather and study inside decaying ancient temple. But last year, a wealthy and successful businessman named Ling donated a vast amount of money to build a modern school right here in this barren wasteland. He intended to bring education and a future to this forgotten, desolate wilderness. He truly was a kind-hearted savior. I bet you got so excited that you agreed to play the role of their school teacher for a few days, didn't you?" Look Two Min joked, trying to pierce the heavy, suffocating atmosphere. "How could I ever have the skills or the authority to be a real teacher?" Thi replied softly, her voice dropping to a chilling whisper. "I merely stayed behind to play with those poor children for a few days, nothing more.